Ladies and gentlemen, it's Summerslam!
What's up, YouTubers? It is your boy, Alyx, and welcome to another review from my SummerSlam review series. We are on to SummerSlam 2001, which is a very controversial year because this is the year of the invasion angle, an angle that has split the audience. Some people feel like this is one of the worst times to be watching WWF. Others feel like it's one of the best times because this is the year of Wrestlemania 17. Some of the best matches in WWF history took place in 2001. So I look forward to seeing what the comment section has to say about this year in particular. But whether you like it or not, business was good for WWF. The biggest thing to come from this year was the death of WCW. WWF was able to buy out their competition. I think they actually did purchase WCW. ECW, I don't think was purchased, but eventually went out of business as well. So by the end of it, WWF was the last man standing, if you will. The purchase of WCW garnered them a brand new audience and a huge increase in pay-per-view buys. Y'all can say all y'all want about the invasion angle. And look, I'll be the first one to tell you it didn't go exactly how I feel it should have gone. The fact is, WWF did some of its best pay-per-view buys in 2001. This SummerSlam, for instance, did 550,000 buys. And then the Invasion pay-per-view, WCW versus WWE for the first time, did 775,000. This was good business for WWF. And although they were lacking some talent, I think Triple H and Chris Benoit weren't there. Both of them were out on injury. Most notably, Triple H had that quad injury, which put him out for 8-9 months. But we were also missing Jerry the King Lawler. Long story short, he quit the company to support his wife, who had quit earlier that year for issues with the company and backstage stuff. So in his place was the former owner of ECW, Paul Heyman, who I thought was excellent as a color commentator. The perfect replacement for Jerry the King Lawler. Just fit right in there. And him and Jim Ross did some of the best work on that commentary desk. People don't talk about Heyman as a commentator. They should, because he's awesome. But getting into the invasion angle, during this time, they were doing this thing where Shane McMahon bought WCW under the nose of Vince McMahon. Stephanie bought ECW, and they formed what was called the Alliance with ECW and WCW talent and Paul Heyman to take over the WWF. And we had some turncoats. We had Stone Cold Steve Austin, Tess, and many others go from WWF to the Alliance. Many people hated this, especially when you consider, first off, this is the year Stone Cold Steve Austin turned heel, which, that was a bad idea. Now, Austin did some really good stuff as a heel. One of my favorite segments was that guitar segment, Kumbaya, my lord, and Vince McMahon backstage. Awesome. But this is Stone Cold Steve Austin, bionic redneck, who went against authority, and now he's kissing up to Vince McMahon and turning on WWF because Vince McMahon gave more attention to Kurt Angle. Yeah, it was not the best way to book Austin. Even he will tell you it was not a good idea. But he was leading the pack. And when you think about it, you look at this alliance. Most of the ECW guys, they were there. You had Taz, you had Rob Van Dam, you had the Dudley Boys. You didn't have Tommy Dreamer, which, okay, whatever. You didn't have Sabu, which sucked. Like, if you were really going to go with this ECW invasion, you needed someone like Sabu there. But whatever. You had some people that made that work. But the WCW side was really lacking. You didn't have Hogan. You didn't have Flair. You didn't have Sting. You didn't have NWO Wolfpack or Black and White, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Macho Man. You didn't even have Goldberg. So, could we really call this a WCW invasion without the big names? I personally feel like this is one of the most underappreciated times in WWF history because so many people just overlook it on purpose because it's the year of the invasion and everything done with the invasion sucked. And I disagree. There were some good things done. I still believe that Survivor Series match, Team WWF versus Team WCW, is one of the best Survivor Series matches of all time. And you can't tell me differently. I get it. The angle was not the best in the world. It could have been better. Yes, I wish we had Hogan, Flair, Sting, and NWO and Goldberg to really make it a full-on invasion. But screw it. They eventually all show up. We do get Flair. We do get Goldberg. We do get the NWO. We do get them in WWE eventually. Unfortunately, we don't get them here. When I will admit, if they were here during this time, oh my God, how crazy the invasion would have been. Getting into the actual show, when it comes to SummerSlam 2001, this has to be, like 1997, one of the most underrated shows in terms of SummerSlam. Because I thought this show was good. There wasn't a single bad match on this thing. This is one of those shows that suffer because it was in the middle of the invasion angle. Can we not punish the good shows because of an angle you don't like? SummerSlam 2001 was a good show. If you have not seen this show, go out of your way to see it. Don't listen to people telling you it's bad because it happened during the invasion angle. Check it out for yourself. Make your own opinion. That's all I'm going to say. Now, the show itself was 2 hours and 40 minutes long. The date was August 19th, 2001. The attendance, 15,293. Compact Center, San Jose, California. Commentary, as I said, was Jim Ross and Paul Heyman, and the ring announcer was our favorite, Howard the Fink. First match was Lance Storm versus Edge, Canadians fighting for the Intercontinental Championship. Solid match overall, as you would expect. Now, Edge does win the title here, and he would go on to feud with his brother, Christian. I had to go back and watch that ladder match. I remember that being a really awesome match. They did APA, which is Bradshaw and Farouk, JBL for some of you who have no idea who that is, and Spike Dudley with Molly Holly taking on the Dudleys and Tess. Again, there really wasn't a match here on this show that was that bad. I even like the fact that we had Shane McMahon come in and cost Team WWF the match here just to give the Alliance an, a point on their team. You see Shane randomly make appearances to help out Team WCW, if you will, which is really cool. It's really playing into how much of a douchebag Shane could be. Really good heel, very underrated. Light Heavyweight Championship versus Cruiserweight Championship. Tajiri versus x-pac. I think this was done just to write off the Light Heavyweight Championship. So x-pac does indeed become both Light Heavyweight Champion and Cruiserweight Champion when he beats Tajiri in a really good match. And it was nice seeing Tajiri. I miss Tajiri, man. That's someone I wish WWF would still have. The one thing I'm glad we don't have anymore is Perry Saturn in this moppy gimmick. It was a stupid gimmick. Apparently, Saturn got like a concussion, and over time, he grew to fall in love with a mop. It was a way to bury him. Literally, a way to bury him. They could have booked him a lot better. He was so awesome in WCW. And to see him come to WWF and get this booking, it was one of those things where, because he was a WCW guy, they treated him like crap. And unfortunately, he wasn't one of the guys like Benoit, Jericho, and Eddie who was able to escape that WCW musk. He was basically punished for coming from the enemy team. Not as bad as DDP though, but pretty bad. Chris Jericho took on Rhino, who had Stephanie McMahon in his corner, and this was during the time Jericho and Stephanie had their little beef. Filthy, dirty, disgusting, brutal, bottom-feeding trash bag hoe! Which was one of the best parts of WWF back in 2001. The stuff with Jericho and Stephanie. And Jericho was on fire. He was one of the, well, he probably was the best talker next to The Rock. Catchphrases, the entrance, the matches, this guy was tearing it down during this year. But he ended up beating Rhino, who basically had his number for the last few weeks. And that was that. Then we had a very underrated match. I cannot believe I did not talk about this match during my SummerSlam Classic series. It's a ladder match for the WWF Hardcore Championship. It was Jeff Hardy taking on the current champ at that time, Rob Van Dam. And if there was anything good we can all agree on that came out from this invasion angle, it was Rob Van Dam. He was an instant overnight sensation once he debuted at the Invasion pay-per-view. He was one of the best parts of this show that year, and he would only get better. He had an awesome match, an amazing match with Jeff Hardy. The stuff they did in this ladder match was brutal. There was one spot where Jeff was hanging from the titles, and Rob Van Dam tried to do like this top rope spinning heel kick to knock him off. He missed, but bro, if he would have hit that, it would be one of the craziest moments in WWF history. But he didn't get enough height on Jeff. He was way too high. Regardless, Rob Van Dam retains in a brutal ladder match that I think you all should go see. And then we do a steel cage match involving the Brothers of Destruction, that's Kane and Undertaker, taking on DDP and Kanyon. Who better than Kanyon? Oh, Jesus. This angle. So, I don't even like talking about it. In 2001, WWF did this angle where someone was stalking The Undertaker's wife. They played it up as Austin or Triple H because he was currently in a feud with those guys. But it wasn't those two. Instead, it was DDP. He built this shrine of Sarah, and Sarah was Taker's wife at the time before he met Michelle McCool. And back then he had her name tattooed on his neck. It was deep, deep love that didn't last, unfortunately. But DDP was obsessed with Sarah. He had a shrine for her, and yeah, this was not good. And it pisses me off because DDP was awesome in WCW. He was WCW's People's Champion. And you would think The Rock, WWF's People's Champion, taking on DDP, WCW's People's Champion. It never happened, which was a very big disappointment. DDP in WCW would have been awesome in WWF, but they didn't want that because he was a WCW guy. And you know how they treated WCW folk. They treated them like crap because they were the enemy. I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame now, but looking back on how bad they treated DDP, it's sickening. And he deserved better. He basically got squashed in this match. This steel cage match was a glorified squash match, where the Brothers of Destruction absolutely obliterated DDP and Kanyon. They even let Kanyon leave so they can spend the rest of the match destroying DDP. So not much to say about this. Your new WCW and WWE Tag Team Champions are the Brothers of Destruction. Following that was one of the best matches in SummerSlam history. WWF Championship, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Evil Alliance Champion, taking on the American Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle. I've already talked about this match in length for my SummerSlam Classic series, so not going to spend much time on this. Kurt wins by DQ because Nick Patrick screws him out of the match when he disqualifies Austin for attacking referees. You know, that underhanded heel stuff they did back then. Messed up, but hell, it made for good TV. The next few weeks, Kurt Angle would kidnap Austin, threaten to throw him off the, I think a bridge into the river, made him cry, and then Milkamania ran wild when Kurt Angle sprayed the entire alliance with a milk truck. I'm telling you, 2001 was not all bad, guys. I get it. Invasion Angle wasn't what you wanted. It doesn't mean everything was bad. That was some awesome stuff they did with Kurt Angle in the Alliance. Until he turned heel and joined the Alliance, which was dumb. But regardless, awesome match. Then we get into the main event. WCW Championship. Booker T with Shane McMahon taking on the People's Champion, The Rock. there was this angle done where The Rock was in Hollywood and he returned. Rock got screwed by Vince McMahon at WrestleMania, so he would want to get revenge on Vince McMahon. The Rock did rock bottom Vince McMahon the night he returned, but he returned to WWF because that is his home. So it was WWF's Rock taking on WCW's Booker T. And the main event I thought was really good. I mean, it wasn't nearly as good as Angle versus Austin, but still a pretty good match to close off the show. And the shocking end was seeing The Rock win the championship. Didn't see that coming. I remember watching that for the first time, and I was elated that The Rock beat Booker T. And so WWF has WCW's top title, while WCW has WWF's top title. That's how we end SummerSlam. Still a good show. If you can look past the fact that this happened during the invasion angle, I guarantee you will find some joy in this. I thought it was a good show. How did you feel about it down below in the comments? Whether it's the invasion, whether it's SummerSlam, or just WWF in general. I want to hear your thoughts about this. But thank you guys for watching. Next year is the year we get the best SummerSlam of all time. And I can't wait to talk about it. Until then, this is your boy, Alyx signing off right here in Alyx World. Peace.